Hey everybody, and welcome to Grad Student Book Reviews, where we take an academic work and we dissect its thesis and major arguments in less than 5 minutes. I'm Ryan, and today's book is The Man in the Street, The Impact of American Public Opinion on Foreign Policy by Thomas Bailey. One thing to point out real quick is this book is slightly dated, 1949 here, so keep that in mind as we're talking about it. All right, his thesis is fairly straightforward. Okay, he says that American public opinion is the primary source of the creation of foreign policy. He says that public opinion influences and it guides and sometimes prevents, otherwise controls the politicians and the diplomats that create and implement foreign policy. So, according to Thomas Bailey, public opinion is the catalyst to American foreign policy. Okay, so how does he argue this? Basically, he says that the hyphens are the catalyst for public opinion, and what he means by hyphens is something like German hyphen Americans, or Italian hyphen Americans, or Mexican hyphen Americans, or you name it. Those are the hyphens when you put the hyphen in between wherever the group originates and American. Teddy Roosevelt talks a lot about that as well. But Thomas Bailey claims that the hyphens never really accept true American citizenship, essentially. He says that by using that hyphen, they tie themselves back into their homeland, to their ancestral homeland, and because of that, they form a de facto political lobby group. Right? Whether they mean to or not, they're collectivized, and their politicians need to acquiesce to their constituents there. And so if you have a block of, say, German Americans, those politicians are going to want to appease their voters so they can get reelected, and they're going to influence public opinion in favor of, for our example, Germany. All right, so according to Bailey, that is what drives public opinion, or these hyphens. Now, he says, in addition to the traditional hyphens, there's also cultural and religious hyphens, right? So in religious hyphens, that would be like a Catholic American, or Protestant American, or Jewish American, that kind of thing. And he says they also influence public opinion based on their religious beliefs. For instance, the tie to Israel and to the traditional Holy Land there. These religious hyphens are more inclined to want to help and protect Israel than they are, say, a polytheistic religion. So that's an issue that can influence foreign policy as well. Finally, he talks about cultural hyphens, and kind of his main example here would be African Americans, who were here just as early as any Europeans, but still retain some kind of ancestral tie to their ancestral homeland, to Africa. Now, they won't necessarily tie themselves to a single African nation, but nonetheless, they have this geographic area that African Americans sometimes feel drawn to for foreign policy or diplomatic reasons. So Thomas Bailey thinks that is a draw as well. Now, remember, he is writing this in 1949, so his style of writing is slightly different than we would see today, and so he speaks. He's able to say some things that maybe we wouldn't today. In other words, how about? All right, so basically that's his core argument: is public opinion shapes foreign policy. He does argue at the very end of his book, in his conclusion, that education, particularly education in history and diplomacy, are the requirements of an educated society. Those two particularly are necessary in America. Really, his basic argument is a success, right? It's hard not to see the ties of public opinion to foreign policy. His writing style is kind of more like an op-ed piece, and it lacks footnotes or citations, so it kind of detracts from it. But otherwise, I think his core argument is solid, and you can tie it into all sorts of other historiographical arguments and books. So use it for what it's worth. If you think I'm right, go ahead and write it in the comments. If you think I'm wrong, write it in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe and keep studying. Talk to you later.